Y'all good? So today I have an incredible, it's kind of tinny. Can we turn it down a little bit? I have a presentation. What's that? Well, it goes through the cameras though. So we have people watching through Facebook Live and on YouTube and things to that effect. But I've come to you today with the presentation that I want to talk about not only just weight loss. Who's here because, we'd like to lose weight? Okay. Now, at the same token, right, we all realize sometimes we can be really skinny but yet still be unwell. So I want to talk to you today about the idea that our weight is a reflection of our health, something that we need to pay attention to. Would you guys agree? So there are key aspects to our health that I find most of us have been misled in the understanding that we may not have as much capacity and power as we believe. Now, would you agree we have medicine, and then we have what I would call sort of like natural healing, alternative care techniques, etc. The world tries to tell us that your body is limited in its capacity. The world tries to say that the only way you can get well is to take a medication or visit a doctor or something to this effect. I'm here to share with you that I have a core belief that I find rooted in my faith. I'm a Christian. I have a core belief that inside your body is a power greater than any medication, greater than any diet, greater than anything you could ever do, that will not only just help you to lose weight, but it will help you to transform your body. I believe that each of you are here today by a divine appointment. We prayed this morning over every single seat in this room saying, God, send to us who you have ready to take a next step for their health, ready for a transformation and a journey that pulls away from traditional techniques. It gets out of the idea of covering up our symptoms with medications and goes deep to the root cause. And what I'm going to share with you today is a revelation that was revealed to me that our health needs to be something that we turn inward to and we allow God to make the transformation. Are you guys all okay if I go that route? Okay, because I think today not enough practitioners, not enough physicians are stepping into the realm of this. You have inside of you, each of you, a healing power greater than anything else on this planet. I cannot take claim in faith for healing anyone. I mean, can you imagine the power behind it if I could come up and go like this? And what's your first name? Kate. So Kate, if I could go like this to Kate and go, oh, and if I could heal her, how many more people would be here today? And there'd be police and fire and EMS and probably even snipers and all kinds of people around outside. Would you agree? But now watch this, okay? It's weird for me as a physician to say, I cannot be the one to heal you, correct? Because isn't that the message that we're being told out in the world? So we look at this in the Bible and it says, don't copy the behaviors and the customs of this world. What is the behavior and the custom when we want to lose weight? Diet, exercise, pills, medical weight loss, etc. What is the way of the world when it comes to health? Doctors, medications, over-the-counters. The philosophy being what? Natural. Well, no. The philosophy of medicine being that you are somehow deficient. There's something wrong with you, and only we can fix it. And I'm here to share with you a truth that says there's just something interfering with what you have inside of you. You have the power to heal. You have the power to lose weight. You have the power to get off medications. But there is an interference inside of you, and one of the main interferences is how we must transform what? The way we think. Our thoughts will dictate feelings, and our feelings thus dictate our actions. If you guys want a different action in your life, if you want to lose weight, stop doing what the world says, going out and hopping on the treadmill and change your diet and everything else. That should set some of you free, yes? Like there should be hopefully an amen here. Like, I don't have to go to the gym? No. I don't have to do any crazy diets? No. What you need to understand is most of us, and maybe you guys sitting here today, probably come to it with a change in mindset that needs to take place. The poet Robert Frost said, you can look at it as you come to a road that's diverged into two paths. One of them is the one that's most taken, and the other one is the one that's least. And which one is the road that makes all the difference? Least traveled. Now, I'm going to share with you today techniques and tips and things that will be on the road less traveled. You might have never heard of them before. I'm going to share with you the interferences that prevent your body from not just losing weight, but from repairing energy and regenerating and getting rid of organic diseases. I'm talking about diabetes and heart disease and depression, etc. If you want to hear just a small amount of power and how this works, Tammy Blessing is here today, and I know I'm kind of putting her on the spot for this, but come on up and I'd like you guys to hear something. Tammy came to one of our events, what was it now, maybe 2 years ago?
Yeah, I think so.
And sat in the very seat you sat in and was going, I'm looking for a different path. She ended up doing the testing that I'm going to teach you about today, came into our office, we started working with her. And what was it that you were struggling with before we met?
Diabetes, high blood pressure, and weight.
And how many years had you been going traditional route, medicine, medications, etc.?
Probably 30, at least 30.
Okay, so then we meet, and
Right.
she has this sort of like, you guys ever know what a God moment is like? Like that, like, and listen, I know that today for you is a God moment. You know how I know that? We had, I think, like, 55-something people registered, confirmed, hard yes will be there, and we still have seats in the back that are open. Why? There was an interference in their life. Something prevented them from being here today. You guys are here by divine appointment to hear what she has to say, to hear what I have to say, because I know for a fact it'll make a transformation in your life. Okay, so we meet, God moment. We do the right kind of tests and share with them, like, how fast did you get a change in something that you had been struggling with for 30 years?
Well, the diabetes was probably like 90 days or less. I went from a 7.3 A1C to a 5.3.
Wait, how many days?
Less than 90, I'm pretty sure.
So 30 years medicating, 30 years doing road most traveled, meets me, goes down the road less traveled, and in 90 days? Yeah. Now, how long has it been since you've had a reoccurrence in that? I mean, because we were talking the other day about,
Right.
You're like, oh my God, like even today, here we are, 2 years later?
2 years, yes.
2 years later, fully self-sustained, and what have your sugar numbers been as of late?
In the morning, it's like 89. It used to be 130 without medication. It was 130 in the morning. Last couple of days, it's been 89, which is normal.
And then now, remember, right? Some of you are here for weight loss. What was the side effect of us going through this? How much weight did you lose?
About 45 pounds. Wow.
And how much of that?
Kept it off, too.
And kept it off. And how much of that was me saying, okay, you need to go to the gym and work out 5 times a week,
None.
for 30 minutes, okay? What I'm going to teach you guys today is how to unlock that power. You're going to hear from some people. They've sent in videos to share some messages with you on the power that your body has to heal by itself.
What is your current A1C?
What is it now?
Yeah.
The last time I had it checked, probably 3 months ago, was 5.3.
And we were up in the 7 range before.
7.3.
Now, do you guys know what I'm talking about with A1C? It's a measurement of the percentage of your blood that is coated with sugar such that it cannot carry oxygen and nutrition. If 7% of your blood is coated with sugar, you're an insulin-resistant type 2 diabetic. And if you can get it down under 5.5, then you're considered healthy, healing, and whole. And we did this the non-traditional route. Does that make sense? So, thank you for being a blessing. Her last name is
You need to
Blessing,
tell them
right?
what the doctor said, though, about
Well,
that.
so then well,
Or later, whenever.
do you remember? Well, let's share it now then. I have a slide for it, but watch. Okay, do you guys know medically A1C typically doesn't drop that fast, correct? So what do you think they said when they saw her test? So we reran some tests. We had the initial one. We reran a second one. What do you think they said when they saw the initial test?
It's a mistake.
Yes. And then what did they do? They said, there's no way this can be you. This never happens medically. So we're going to retest you. And then what happened?
And he said,
Exact same thing. So I'm here. Listen, I have this heart to just let you know that you have the capacity to heal yourself. The only thing that is preventing it from happening right now is either one or all three of the core root interferences that are going on in your body is being interfered with, is being blocked. So if you have the capacity to heal from a broken bone without any medications or surgeries or anything to that effect, how is there any difference from you losing 40 or 50 pounds? How is there any difference from you breaking free from diabetes or thyroid issues or blood pressure or cholesterol, etc.? There is no difference to your body, but the only difference is, are you aware, are you thinking that your body has the capacity to do that, number one? And then number two, are you acting on the thought? Does that make sense? So my theme for today is this idea that we're going to be at a pivot point and we get to decide, do we go the way of traditional or do we go the way of non-traditional? Call it holistic, functional, alternative. And my prayer would be that with whatever I say today, that God speaks through me to you so that you can hear the message that you need to hear today. because I share with you one thing. It has transformed my life. I wasn't always healthy. I was overweight. I had high blood pressure. I was diagnosed with something called sarcoidosis, which is an autoimmune disease of the lungs. I was taking inhaled corticosteroids to breathe. I had this nebulizer in order to have, oxygenation at night. I couldn't even make it through the night without breathing. Every doctor I went to said, we have no idea where this is coming from. We're unsure. There's no family history. It's not in your genetics. It's like it just came out of nowhere. And every single person I went to said, medication, 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 medication. And when I was in my mid-20s, I got into a car accident, and I got introduced to the wonderful world of chiropractic care. Has anybody ever been to a chiropractor before? Okay, some yes, some no. But here's the thing. A lot of people assume that chiropractic is for neck pain, back pain, headaches, car accidents, etc. I'm going to share with you a foundational truth that one of your key interferences. Turn into your packets if you would. I gave you guys some packets. There is a sheet that has this diagram on it. And this is the root cause of the inability for you to lose weight. This is the root cause of the inability for you to break free from blood pressure, cholesterol, or diabetes. The foundation of your health. The reason I use a three-legged stool analogy is, how many of you would agree it's really difficult to balance yourself on a one-legged stool? Okay, now understand the philosophy behind this. A one-legged stool would mean we're putting all of our energy and all of our efforts into just one avenue for health. You realize how many people say, I'm healthy, Dr. Ernst, because I'm a vegetarian. I put all of my energy into my diet. But yet, do you guys know any vegetarians who have had high blood pressure, cancer, or overweight, etc.? Anybody? Okay, so your diet is not going to be the core foundation of your health, nor is your exercise or your physical fitness and things to this effect. You have three core foundations: your nerve system, your gut, or your what I'll call microbiome, and your total toxicity. Sorry. These are the three core foundations of the inability for you to lose weight, the inability for you to, have your energy back, to reset your blood pressure, cholesterol, your whatever. When we go the route of saying, how do we take this road less traveled? A lot of people look at chiropractic care and they'll say, well, I don't have any pain, so why would I ever work on my nerve system? You're going to learn today this is the master system that drives every avenue of your body. And even medically, they're finding out if you stimulate the nerve system, guess what happens? You lose weight and your body creates cell tissues to where you can heal from the inside. We know today that your gut houses 80% of your immune system. Your physical power for self-healing and regeneration is found right here within your gut. And I'm not talking about the number of times you go to the bathroom. We're talking about at a cellular level. Is there inflammation, irritation, and infection? Have you guys heard this phrase called a leaky gut? So most of you probably have this condition, but you're not paying attention to it or addressing it. And if that's there, it'll be an interference. So if we have nerve interferences that we can't feel, if we have gut toxicities and microbiome issues that we are not aware of, and we have toxicities where our liver is congested or full, or we have pesticides or herbicides flowing around, can you see why jumping on a treadmill is not going to make you lose weight? Can you see why taking a medication is only going to make it worse? Because what will medications do to our body? Well, they have side effects. Why? Because they are. So the more medications we take, the more toxic we get, and what it does is it chops out from underneath of you one of your core foundational aspects of healing. Yet that's the way that we treat ourselves, is it not? Yet, and when I meet with people that say, well, Dr. Ernst, I'm on 7 medications, I want to get well, I want to get my energy back, I want to lose weight, etc. And I say to them, okay, the very first thing you need to do to heal is to stop taking your medications. What's the typical response I get back? Right? Why? Because why? They are stuck in the idea of what? Well, they're stuck in the idea of the way they think has been transformed based upon the world. If a doctor says you must have these medications for the rest of your life, there's no way you can do anything else to get off of them, and you believe that thought, then what have you done? You've conformed yourself to the ways of the world. Does that make sense? I promise you today, as you see me go through these and as we talk about what you need to do to heal, you can be set free. You can be transformed. You can not only know what God's will is for your life by doing this, but let me ask you this. Those of you who are Christians, does God will us to be sick? Does God will us to be stuck in a path of having to take medications having to kind of like wake up every day and fight through our life because we feel off or our energy's low or we're depressed or we're in a state of denial, etc. I know for a fact that he has put you on this earth for a purpose, for a reason, and that part of that reason is for you to be healthy, whole, vibrant, and alive. And I also know that in the same method that your body can heal itself, in the same method that when I drop this, it should hit the floor, yes? That if there is an interference, if there's something in the way, that is the reason that it's not happening. So the reason you're not losing weight isn't because you're too lazy or you eat too much food, carbs, etc. It's because you have an interference. If you're taking blood pressure medications or thyroid pills or you have anxiety or whatever, the reason it's still present is because there's an interference. And if you remove the interference, the natural inborn self-repair that God has inside of your body will go to the next level. But guess what? Can there be an interference at the next level? So we start with neurological interference. We switch over into gut and microbiome interference. We finalize with toxicity. You clear these three, and what it does is it builds the foundation for you to have health. But watch, what are the first four letters of the word health? It builds the foundation for you to heal, which means it's from within, not from without. Which means you have more power in you than you do in those orange bottle, white top things that we fill every month, right? But yet what we do is we place our faith in the pills. And I'm here to share with you a divine message. You have it inside of you already. All you need to do is find out at what degree of interference is this, and not let me heal you, but let me guide you through a path of coaching and advice and therapies to repair your body, and you will be the victor doing it, just like Tammy has done it. I claim that I did not heal Tammy. I claim that I showed Tammy what she needs to do, and she became the doctor, she became the healer, and she healed herself. Does that make sense? So I believe today you're going to be set free. I believe you're going to hear exactly what you wanted to hear, exactly what you came here for today, and that is my prayer for today. Does that make sense? Are we ready? Okay. Now, I'd like to explore the idea of the road most traveled when it comes not just to weight loss, but also when it comes to our health. And the reason I threw this together is, we've already discussed this, but wouldn't you agree? If you had, say, for example, high blood pressure, and I asked you right now, I said, what would you do to make your blood pressure go away? What would be your first thought? Well, how are you going to lose weight? So we go, most of us, straight to our diet, right? If we could just somehow fix the way we eat, then everything would automatically transform. But again, remember, that's the road most traveled. How many people have done a diet before, you've lost 5 or 10 pounds, and then all of a sudden what happens? It comes right back. Why? Or it plateaus out, right? You lose 5, 6, 7, 10 pounds, then stops, right? The reason that it'll come back or it'll plateau out is that your diet is not what's causing you to be overweight in the first place. Does that make sense? Now, if we look at it, things like exercise. Now, everybody's going to the gym and trying to work off everything that they gained throughout the holidays and whatnot. And you have more gym memberships open now than ever before. But you're going to hear from some information today. Did you guys know that they've done studies that show the more you work out, watch this, the more you work out, the more fat you store and the more weight you gain. So the research is saying it's exactly the opposite of what the world is telling us to do. They're showing that your diet has very little to do with your ability to lose weight. It has to do more with, are you keeping your 3 systems functional? Now, when we go down the routes of I have a medical issue, right? We've talked about this. We see our doctor, we take prescriptions, sometimes we do over-the-counters, and when this stuff doesn't work, when diabetes doesn't get better, when high blood pressure is still present, when you have arthritis that hasn't gotten improvements, etc., then what do? We sometimes turn to specialists who will run more tests, etc., ultimately sometimes even ending up in surgeries and things to this effect. And when that doesn't work, what do we usually do? So if you've done medications, you've done prescriptions, you've seen your doctor over and over again, and you still haven't healed, what do we do usually at that point? Some people give up. Some people then turn to the alternative side. Some people turn to God and say, please heal me, God. And I'm showing this is more the route. We should start acknowledge this, begin into the alternative and the holistic space, and what you'll see is that's where the answer lies. Does that make sense? Yes. Now, I have a question because I would like to know so we can sort of customize the event today. What did you come here for? What were you hoping to get out of this event? So would somebody mind sharing with me? What was your main purpose in coming here today? Yes.
High blood pressure.
Okay.
I've got high triglycerides. I
Okay.
got high cholesterol.
Okay.
My A1C was 7.5. I brought it down to 7.1.
So let's say it's diabetes. Yes.
Yep. So I mean, I've got just about everything.
Okay. So
And I'm ready to change.
there you go. So guess what?
Oh, I'm only 30.
Hoping to
39.
hear and get something that he has not been given anywhere before.
So I will share with you for a fact.
You say amen and do it.
Now watch, right? This is elevated pressures. This is elevated cholesterols and triglycerides. This is elevated blood
And I
sugars.
got elevated heart rate too.
So
Uncontrollable.
you guys notice a trend here? Everything is elevated. Now, has anybody heard the show I did where I talked about like why is everything so high? The radio show I did? No? Now watch. When your health is deficient, your reaction will be in excess. The body is about a homeostatic environment. When something is missing with your health, these are compensations for that. So as an example, your blood pressure is high right now because there's a deficiency in some area of your key healing. And it's got to be one of those three.
I would agree because, back 10 years ago, I could say I was about the same weight, but I could eat whatever I want to. I could do whatever I want to. I was going at a higher level of stress.
And that would mean
Had none of those.
that at the time, those three core foundations hadn't been interfered with yet.
Correct.
Once you interfere with it, we start to see this. Now again, the medical world is to do what? We take a medication for this,
Yep.
we take a medication for this, we take a medication for this, and we take a medication for that.
For the top one.
And why are we on three of them though? Can somebody help me with that? The first one didn't work. The second one,
Yeah, I got one to lower my heart rate, and then I got two for blood pressure.
and so I promise you today, you're going to find out exactly what you need to do to clear all of these because your body has the capacity to do that. Anybody else? Yes.
Okay, I'm going to answer the question. What are you really here? Okay, I'm here because overweight, high blood pressure, thyroid problems, depression. Sometimes I feel pain on my joints, and I have alcohol problems. Thank you. If you answer my question, I really appreciate that.
Thank you for sharing. Anybody else? Yes.
Trying to lose,
Okay.
coming back.
Okay. And I saw a bunch of hands. Everybody like that's the thing, right? Come to a seminar. We're going to teach you how to lose weight. What do? Everybody shows up. Come to a seminar to show you how to heal yourself and break free from blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes. Maybe not, because what? We don't think it can happen, right? Yes, ma'am.
Just want to feel better.
Is it energy or? Yes. Now hold on though. Here's something we have to talk about. Okay. When you're healthy, should you feel amazing? Okay. But does the way you feel dictate your health? It does or it does not? Be careful.
It goes both ways.
So give me at least one condition that you would never want to have that you can't feel. Meaning you can feel fabulous and still have this health problem. That's one, right? So yeah, usually we can't feel our blood pressure unless it's really, really high. Most of the time we can't feel our triglycerides and our cholesterols. I want you feeling amazing, but I would rephrase it and say I want to heal better. Heal instead of feel, because our feelings can sometimes be distracted onto other avenues. And I promise you one thing, you cannot feel your health. This is the hardest part of it because people wake up and say, well, I feel fabulous, so I must be healthy. So be careful because there's a lot of people who have diseases that feel fabulous. Now watch this. Can you have normal blood tests and still be unwell? So you guys see it's like a violation of everything we've been taught. The major pathway, the road most traveled would say, if you have an abnormal blood test, then you're sick, we know how to prescribe a medication for it, and then you will feel well because of the results of that. But how many people take medications and still say, well, I still don't feel well? And at the same token, you can have lab tests run that are absolutely clean, and yet we feel what? Like our life is falling apart. And we go, why can't you find it? Why can't we figure out what it is? Because medicine looks down a path of testing things that they can prescribe medications for. So if you don't have a test that comes back abnormal that they can't write a drug for, they're not going to be able to find your issues. I'll show you tests today that will not only find out what's going on with your nerve system, with your microbiome, with your toxicities, but you don't have to worry about if you can feel them or not. They're going to show functionality. They're going to show, is your immune system working at 100% or not? Are you detoxing properly? Is your nerve system open and clear? And those connections are what are going to set you free from high blood pressure, cholesterol. They're going to allow you to have your life back, for you to get better and lose weight as a side effect. Does that make sense? Now, I have several people who have given us testimonials that you guys are going to hear all throughout today. Some of them are on video. Tammy came today. Those who couldn't come, they'll be through video. And when you hear them, I want you to understand they're sharing their heart and they're sharing the idea that when they went this road less traveled, that made all the difference to them. And I want to do a couple things today. I want to change the way about our health and our weights, because a lot of us think if I lose weight, then I'm going to be healthy. But it's the other way around. When you get your health back, you will lose weight automatically. The reason why your weight will keep bouncing back or why it plateaus out is because you've only reached the capacity of how hard you're pushing. Could we go to the gym and force 5 pounds off? Yes, but if you don't fix your health, what happens? It'll either come back or you're going to plateau right there, because your weight is a reflection of your health. The healthier you are, the lower your weight will be naturally. The more unhealthy you are, the higher your weight will be. We're going to talk about the tests and the 3 causes that I shared with you: nerve interference, microbiome, toxicity. We're going to show you how you can test for each of those. And then I'm also going to show you what are the things that we're doing today. What are we eating that's actually causing us to interfere with our health and our weight more than anything else? And I promise you, it might not be exactly what you're thinking. And then I'm also going to share with you what I have learned is the best way to activate up to 10 to 15 pounds in 4 weeks as a side effect of you getting your health back. Does that sound fair for today? Just a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Now, this is Rochelle. Rochelle was not able to come here today, but she recorded a video where she wanted to share with you her experience of now addressing these 3 core interferences. So we're going to listen to her. I have a couple other testimonials, and I'm going to walk you guys exactly through how to do this. You ready? Here we go.
Hi, my name is Rochelle. Before I met Dr. Ernst, my health was a challenge. I was having difficulty with my thyroid. I had gained over 50 pounds that I could not lose in a 2-year period. I also, for over a year, in my legs, my ankles, and my feet. All the doctors that I went to just kept telling me to just take medication, and I knew that there was a better way. There had to be something that I could do other than just have my body pump with medicine. One that could actually tell me what the problem was, instead of what to take. So Dr. Ernst took an approach that I had never seen before. He tested my blood and my urine, my nutritional evaluations, and was able to discover that all of the issues that I was having was due to underlying causes of leaky gut, toxic liver, and nerve interferences that I couldn't feel. He developed a custom protocol, and I met with him monthly, and today I'm here to say that I'm a healthier me. I've lost 42 pounds, and I now have more energy. My skin is clearer than it's ever been. I have more confidence. I sleep better. I no longer have any gut-related issues, no bloating. I just feel wonderful. I can't even describe the change that my body has went through and how much better I feel. Best of all, I know now about health, and also I know how to be my own doctor, thanks to Dr. Ernst and his team. It's one decision you'll never regret.
And did you hear her say, what had she been doing with her doctors? Did you guys hear her say it? Kept trying to push medications into her. And then, so she sits in a seminar just like this, has that epiphany moment, and says, I have never been tested for those core 3, nerve, gut, toxins. We get her tested, we find the interferences, we apply the techniques I'm going to teach you guys today. And how much weight did she lose? 40 pounds. In how many months? 6 months. And it happened without gyms, it happened without crazy diets. It happens because the body has the capacity to do it by itself. This is Beth Margaret. I met with Beth when she came to one of my events in 2018. And she sat, it just like his, went through the whole seminar. And this is what usually happens, right? You guys are going to walk up afterwards and come to me and say, okay, Dr. Ernst, this was fabulous, but what about me? And I understand, I get that. But I'm going to share with you, your body has the ability to repair itself. Whichever of those 3 interferences are going on with you, that's the block. She comes up and says, but I've been on thyroid medications, I have type 2 diabetes, I've been gaining weight like crazy, my doctors have no answer for this. And she goes, are you seriously, you're going to be able to find the cause and help me to heal? And I said, I can help you to underlie the cause, but your body and you are going to become the own doctor for this. And she goes, but I've tried everything, I'm a little skeptical, it surely can't be this easy. I mean, would you guys agree? Like, it's got to be, there's got to be more science behind this. And I said to her, if you're willing to put a little bit of faith in the fact that we can figure out what your interferences are, I'm going to show you how we do this today. I'm willing to help you not only financially, but I'm going to be your coach and your guide. And she said, I just feel like it's right. And I met with her, and when she started off, she was 221 pounds with 48% of her body as fat. Now let me ask you a question. Her all apart, and we started just with fat together with fat. You guys see that is about 50% of her body is fat. So we would start down with her legs. It would be fat, 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 all the way up through here. It would be all fat from here down to get a 48% fat. Is that a big deal or is that a big deal? Okay, that is in the realms of almost morbid obesity. And you're going to see today that when your body fat percentage is beyond about 30%, they estimate that you're increasing your risk for heart disease, for diabetes, for thyroid conditions, and even the biggest player of them all, cancer. There's a study right now being done that says that they are directly connecting your likelihood and ability to have cancer all based upon the amount of fat that's inside of your intestines. If you have more than 50% of your body fat by volume in your intestines, you're increasing your likelihood for cancer 4, 5, 6 times based upon that percentage. The research is evident. If you store fat, it interferes with hormone processes, and almost all cancers are hormonal based. And so you can clear this, and all we did was we tracked our progress. Now, I'm going to teach you a little bit about this. It's a scale test we have in my office that breaks down your individual components. It shows how much fat is in your left leg, your right leg, your arms, your trunk, your abdomen, etc. And we track progress on an every 4 to 5 week cycle. And what you can see is she started off at 221 pounds and in as little as 6 months got down to 161 pounds. Guys, that is 60 pounds. And never once in the gym. Never once with doing like, okay, you must count your calories and restrict your carbohydrates. Simply going down the route of addressing the core interference, which for her, when you have a condition like that, how many of them do you think were involved? Just one? No. 2? All 3. And what you're going to see is, probably for those of you sitting here today, if you've never had these tests done before, you more than likely have all 3 as your core interference. And if you know which ones they are, and you know how to address them, all you have to do is sit back and watch in wonder and glory at God's creation repair itself. And that's the beauty that I get to see. I've been in practice for 13 years. I've seen over 43,000 patients come through my office. Guys, 43,000 people come through my office in 13 years. I've seen cancer, heart disease, diabetes, dementia, Alzheimer's, psoriasis. You pick a condition, we have seen it clear out, not because, again, I can somehow mystically make it disappear within you, but because you remove the interference and your body will repair itself. Does that make sense? Yes. But remember, the biggest challenge of them all, just like Henry Ford said, if you think you can do a thing or you think you can't do a thing, then who's right? Now, can I just pause for a moment and ask you guys a question? Can cancer be reversed by the power that's found within inside of your body without doing chemo radiation surgery? Okay, I got like 2 heads shaking yes. Okay? It's all based upon what you think. Can blood pressure that's been raging for years and medications we've been taking for it completely be reset without you having to rely on them for the rest of your life? Can your body do this? Does it have the capacity? Yes. But if you don't think it does, then guess what? It won't.
He's done it before. I ain't been on blood pressure. I have not been on blood pressure medication since I was a kid. It started recently. So
Correct.
can it be done? Yes.
Now the thing though is right, we have to let the way we think and feel about it be the dividing factor. And that's why when God said in the Bible, you must transform the way you think, because once you do that, then His will, His purpose, and His guide in your life will be delivered. And I promise you, His will, purpose, and life for you is not to be medicated, not to be dealing with the side effects and the symptoms. You were meant for great things that these medications are preventing you from doing. Would you guys agree when you take a medication, it literally fogs up our mind? It makes us people who we are not. It's almost as if it's from the devil himself. And by the way, if you don't know this, they talk a lot about how there's pharmakia, sorcery and witchcraft within the Bible. Incidental, what do we call the companies that produce medications? Pharmaceutical, which is a derivative from the Greek aspect of saying it's a spell and a curse that's being placed upon you. And I don't mean to be harsh and brash with this, but when you take a medication, what you're doing is you're inviting a spell, you're inviting a chemical change, you're inviting a curse into your body, which makes you something you weren't created to be. And it doesn't matter if it's a vaccine, it doesn't matter if it's a flu shot, it doesn't matter if it's a medication you take. That's why I'm trying to show you today, how do we get off of a medication? How do we reverse our weight? How do we repair our body? We go deep into the source of how we think, and we go to the core interferences. Are we good with this? Okay. Now, wouldn't you agree that when it comes to weight loss, the road most traveled says, okay, what you're doing is you're eating too much food, you are lazy, you're not exercising enough, and that what you should eat is less fat and more grains, correct? The base diet today is grain-based diet, cut the fats out and everything else. I'm going to tell you that the top two are an absolute farce, number one and number two, and this is actually what's causing more issues with our health today because grains interfere with the ability to detox and they interfere directly with your gut. And if you don't believe me on that, you're going to see some science that's probably going to make you never want to eat corn or wheat or rice or soy or oats ever again after today. All right, now watch. I went, and I've been doing this seminar for years. In 2016, when I did this seminar first, I typed into Google how to lose weight. Because wouldn't you agree, like, this is our core source today for information, yes? If you want how to lower blood pressure naturally, how to lose 10 pounds, how to find, that my spouse or my perfect future date, etc. We use Google more than anything else before. Now, if you watch this, in 2016, the world, the way most traveled said, go low carb, eat when you're only hungry, and don't be hungry, by the way, so then you won't eat. Notice it. Eat real food and eat only when you're hungry. Measure your progress wisely, etc. Then the next year, they came out and then same search, same year, said do something completely different. Okay, now you're supposed to eat a high-protein diet and avoid sugary drinks, drink half your body weight in water, drink coffee, which can help you to stimulate and lose weight, etc. And then the next year, what did they say? Nope, we were wrong. You need to build a better breakfast. You need to prioritize your foods. You need to, again, go for coffee. What you'll see here is that year after year after year, it has consistently changed. Go low carb, eat only when hungry, back to what it was before. And I did this yesterday just to see what it would say right now. This is 2020's advice from Google on how to lose weight. High protein diet, avoid sugary drinks. You can see it rotates back and forth because we're being misled that you can eat yourself out of your weight or you can eat yourself out of your health. And I'm here to share with you what we typically do is we're only eating foods that interfere with it. If you simply remove the foods that interfere, you can have as much of the healing foods as you want. You can eat until your heart's content. You don't have to worry about counting calories and carbohydrates and things to this effect, which I'm going to share with you. You can literally eat real God-given foods and have large amounts of them and lose weight at the same time. And we talked about this. The studies show if you have just simply 5 pounds of fat that is extra from what your body needs, and I'll show you how you can find out exactly what your body needs, then you're setting yourself up for risks with your health, including diabetes, heart disease, cancer, etc. Now, do you guys have any idea, like 5 pounds of fat is only about maybe that much space within your body. And some of you have maybe 15, 20, 25 pounds of fat that needs to come out. And where is the fat typically? Yeah, and you're going to see today that it's not because of like you being older or because of your hormone shifting. It's because there's a reaction going on in your intestines, and that fat is there to try to protect you. And so if you burn it off, you lose your protective layer, your body's innate wisdom is going to do what? It'll put that layer right back on. So I'm going to show you how to get down deeper inside of it. And again, we want to look at it from the perspective of our health. As you guys have been sharing, we had blood pressure, cholesterol, triglycerides, etc. But I've seen people with, hot flashes and depression and anxiety and infertility. Even, like the idea that we start to lose the fun in our life. When our health starts to decline, it doesn't just affect how we feel. It affects functionality. It affects our family. It affects our work. It affects every avenue. So you have the capacity to literally be reborn and regenerated, clear with thought, clear with energy, a healthy, happy, whole you, once you go this route. Now, I want to talk about calories for a moment. Can you guys close the door? Would you agree today, everybody's kind of talking about the idea that what you need to do to lose weight is just cut your calories. If you can bring your calorie counts down, then you'd lose weight. But yet, do you guys know that there's no such thing as a calorie in the perspective of your metabolism? If we go deep into your body and we say, we have your citric acid cycle, we have your metabolic cycles, we have your mitochondria. These are all things that produce energy and burn fat naturally for you. Not a single one of them intakes a calorie as energy. What a calorie is simply the amount of heat that is required to raise 1 kilogram of water by 1 degree Kelvin. That's it. Okay, so in your body, if you were to increase or decrease your calories, all you would change is the temperature of the water of your body. And let me ask you a question. If you decrease calories, will that increase or decrease the temperature of the water in your body? Decrease. Now watch this. The water in your body is actually the fire that burns fat. And it needs to be in a productive state that's actually got some heat to it. So it's going to sound weird when I say you actually need to eat more calories to burn fat. Remember, it's about changing the way we think. Now, why do you think the world wants us to restrict our calories? Because if I can cool down your metabolism, then what do I do to your weight, number one? You'll gain weight. And then number two, as your weight gets bigger, what happens to your health? It goes down. So we can actually induce states of metabolic disease by you restricting calories. And most low-calorie foods are filled with what? Chemicals, pesticides, herbicides, etc. So I'm going to try to teach you today, we need to stop counting calories. And instead, we need to focus on just literally real, whole, healthy foods, one specific food category that will bring you to a faster state of health than ever before. And it's going to sound weird when I say that you need to eat more of it. If you're concerned about my comments about the gym and that you don't have to go to the gym to work out, I want you to see this article that was done by the University of Arizona. They found out that exercise is actually making you put pounds and pounds on, because what it does is it releases a response called cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone. When cortisol goes up, your body stores fat for energy for what they call the long haul. When they published this study, they actually came out and said that after 12 weeks of going on the treadmill, they saw that most women and men did not lose any body weight or fat mass at all, which shocked the researchers. They thought for sure if you stuck to a regimen for 12 weeks, you would lose weight. They found out instead there was either no change or they gained weight. When it was published, they put it out and said it was called treadmill torture. The idea that men and women these days are being taught, go to the treadmill, off your calories, consume less, work harder, and you'll lose weight. But the research is clear that's actually going to make you gain weight. And so the routes to go is to focus on, okay, what is it in our body that feeds us and fuels us more than anything else? Okay, if I had to ask you guys between the two of these, if I eat lots of butter or fat or anything that's like, I'll say, high in calories, or I eat carbohydrates, which one makes us gain weight quicker? And why is that? It turns to sugar in your blood, though, when? It does it the second you eat it. The second you put it into your mouth, you have enzymes within your mouth that are designed to turn carbohydrates from grains directly into sugar. And what sugar does is it causes inflammation. And the inflammation is what affects our organ tissues. And the reason that it turns the sugar into fat, because remember, your body will always do the right thing at the right time. Can I get an amen on that? So the question should be this. Why does the body turn carbohydrates into fat? Why is it storing it? No, that's what we've been taught. I know. And you're going, there's been a lot of rain and it's not coming out. Why? Listen, it's gonna rattle your world. Your body is converting the carbohydrates into fat because fat fights inflammation. The carbohydrates create inflammation. The fats come around and say, well, I'm here to protect you from the inflammation. So we try to burn off all the fat, right? Lose weight, lose weight, lose weight, lose weight, lose weight. Are we addressing the inflammation? No. So what happens? It comes right back. Now, what's another aspect of the body that will fight inflammation? Cholesterol. Cholesterol is actually a healthy healing molecule. People who have high cholesterol, high triglycerides, it tells me you have a high amount of inflammation within your body. It means that there's definitely nerve interference. It means there's a gut involvement. It means you're toxic. And if you want those levels to drop very drastically, address those interferences and you'll see them reset within minutes. Now, here's the aspect behind this. Just watch. In the United States, we implemented in 1977 a hardcore truth that said we were going to teach people to eat more grains and to cut fats from their diet. Now, if you watch this, this is a graph of the amount of expense per person per year on healthcare, and you can see that the United States is the only one who's really winning this race more than any other country. Would you guys agree? Now, we're up to, right now on average, the average American is spending between $8,000 and $9,000 a year on their health. Either that's with their copays, their deductibles, their doctor's visits, their insurance costs, etc. The average American is spending this much. You might say, well, I don't spend that much. You know what that means? Someone out there is spending more than that. I had a patient come into my office last week who told me that they had had a procedure done, $25,000. The procedure did not work, and I said, did you ask the doctor for your money back? And you know what they said? Well, I didn't even think to do that. The thing is when we go the route of medicine, they'll put faith into a procedure. They'll say, okay, well, we don't know if it's going to work, but we have so much belief that they are the right way that we will often just shell out money and cash and time and involvement to them. And I promise you, you have a better path to do that. If you look at the rates of obesity in the United States, right as we started to implement this high-grain, low-fat diet, what happened? It started to take off and take off and take off. They're estimating by 2030 that half of Americans will be obese, 50% of us. You watch, cut out fats from our diet. We should tell people to eat oatmeal for breakfast, Cheerios, which will lower your cholesterol. It's all a big lie. The grains that we consume are what are causing more damage to our health than anything else. And if I had to share with you something, what should we do? We should eat more fat and less grains, which should mean I would love all of you to be eating sticks of butter every day. And what you're going to see is this. Grass-fed butter, by the way, it has to be the right kind of butter. Grass-fed butter is extremely high in something called conjugated linoleic acid, which is a specific acid that helps your body to decrease inflammation. And it has something called butyrate, more than anything else. Butyrate is an acid that can get inside the mitochondria of your cells, turn them on, and make you produce more energy. And yet we were told that if I eat a lot of butter, what would happen? I would get clogged and I'd have these cholesterol issues, right? Now, here's the challenge behind this. When you look at this lie that says cholesterol is causing all the damage within your heart, there's a book that I would highly recommend you guys read, especially if you're needing some assistance with the idea that if I eat lots of fat, I'm going to get a heart attack. Look at the medical doctors, look at the PhDs who do all the research, say if you were to blame cholesterol as the cause of heart disease, it would be like you're saying you're blaming the firemen that are putting out the fire to be the ones who caused the fire. Does that make sense? So think of it like this. If there's a lot of houses that are all of a sudden catching on fire in a neighborhood, and you were a scientist, what you would do is you would say, well, there's a lot of fires, and there's a lot of firemen that come to those fires, and the firemen then must be involved in this. There's a lot of heart disease, there's a lot of cholesterol in the arteries, so it must be the cholesterol that's causing the problem. The research today is very evident. What happens is the vessels of your arteries become inflamed because of the grains and the carbohydrates we consume. And when you inflame a vessel, the blood starts to physically leak. And what would happen if you had serous tissues and blood tissues leaking through all the vessels of your body? There's toxicity that increases, and by definition, that's called stroke. You would be bleeding out internally. Now remember, your body does the right thing at the right time all the time. So is it aware that this is happening? Does your body know there's inflammation within your vessels? So your body, your brain will be able to detect this. Do you guys see this is why nerve involvement is so crucial? If you have interference with your nerve system, you cannot be aware and detecting that this is happening, so you don't respond properly. Once your brain is aware of it, it will send messages, usually through hormones or other chemical processes, to say, put cholesterol and fat at the area where the inflammation is, and what it'll do is it's supposed to temporarily allow for the area to heal. Now, because most of us don't address our inflammation, we're not addressing our nerve issues, we're not doing our detoxification, what's happening to the inflammation? It remains present, and so what happens? We get more of the inflammation, we get more of the leaking, so your body just keeps producing more and more and more, and before you know it, you'll start to have the doctor say, a cholesterol plaque, you need to take medications to lower your cholesterol to stop that from happening. Yes?
Is that inflammation, say it's from whole grains or ancient grains, is that caused by the lectins, or is there more?
It's caused by the entire process. It's caused by the fact that there's lectins, which will create inflammation. There's the lack of nutrients that come. You guys know that the grains literally suck nutrition out of your body. They decrease your calcium, your phosphorus, your magnesiums, etc. The phytic acid that's found inside of it, and the sugar carbohydrate conversion from grain to carb is what creates the inflammation within the first place. And as there's something specific we now put on almost all of our grains that we eat that creates an additional reaction. It's the things that we spray our grains with. Now, if we've been going low, right, most of us have probably said, okay, well then the oils that I want to use are the ones that everybody says are healthy and pure for us, yes? Just out of total transmission and transparency, who currently uses canola or vegetable or corn or these kind of oils? Anybody in this room? Okay, well thank God then, because you know what the research is showing? Vegetable-based oils actually cause more inflammation, and they cause the cholesterols that are flowing around within your body to become oxidized. Oxidized cholesterol is one that has become hardened and has become anchored to the position to where it won't be able to release. A non-oxidized cholesterol is very waxy-like and sticky, can go in, do its job, and leave. You start to harden and oxidize cholesterols, and then you get the hardening of your arteries. You get the plaque that develops. And the research is evident. The more of the vegetable-based oils you consume, the more of these polyunsaturated fatty acids, the more inflammation you get. And they've also discovered that the actual oils themselves make your white blood cells start attacking the cholesterol and causing further plaquing. It's as if the oils that we have replaced the fats with are actually causing a fire to burn deeper inside of our body. And the best thing you can do is switch away from them. Now, a lot of people will say, yes, but these fats that you're going to eat, cholesterol, physically eating cholesterol with eggs and things like this, grass-fed butter, coconut oils, etc., these saturated fats are then going to cause heart disease. Yet there was a study done not that long ago that actually found out the more saturated fats you consume from plant sources, the less cardiovascular disease you get.
Is that olive oil?
Olive oil is one, so is coconut oil, etc. The biggest oils we're focusing on are the ones that come from plant sources, right? Olive oil, coconut oil, avocado, etc. And also the ones that come from our meats, as long as they're grass-fed or wild-caught fish, things to this effect. And most of us are either just now starting to incorporate this into our diet, or we've been avoiding them with the fear that they're going to cause heart disease. Yes?
Can you reverse oxidized LDL?
You reverse it by doing one thing, cutting away from the plant-based oils, so removing the PUFAs from your diet, and then switching it over to more plant-based saturated. So that's the first step dietarily. And then the second step is to address the fact that almost all major cardiovascular effects has to do with the nerve interference from the brain to the heart, from the gut interference and how the microbiome affects the heart, and from the toxicities. For the heart specifically, it's things like ferritin and lead, which you would have to get tested for. So you pull these, you'll see sugars reset, triglycerides reset. I've even seen some patients say the blockages in their arteries have been reset.
And that's my question.
You can literally undo the plaques over time, but your body will do it for you. Does that make sense? Yeah. Now, I'll go down deep into each of these three so you can see how do we test for them, how do we determine if you have them, and what are the steps in order for you to get them corrected. So the first step is this. Your brain is sending messages 1,000 times a second back and forth between organ function and between neurological control so that every square inch of your body is communicating to itself. What we now know is that the spine and the nerve tissues is not just the thing you have to help you stay upright. Your brain is housed within your skull. The spinal cord flows down through your neck, down through the mid-back, out every single nerve channel. Specific regions of your spine control specific parts of your body. So here's what I'm saying, for example, if you have a heart issue. That would imply that either the vagus nerve that comes from the top of the neck or the chain that comes from the shoulder-neck connection has an interference with it, because the brain would tell the heart what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. So if there's inflammation present and you don't have that communication for self-repair, then we start to see plaques, cholesterol buildups, and everything else. Does that make sense? Now, if you have a thyroid problem, let's say your doctor has you on Synthroid or levothyroxine, etc. Here's the beauty behind it. There are different regions of the spine that control different organs. Thyroid problem would imply that there's a neurological interference within the mid portion of the neck. If you have diabetes, it's either the vagus nerve or it's the middle part of your back. If you have acid reflux or indigestion, it's either the vagus nerve or it's the middle part of your back. Adrenal dysforce. You guys know right now today, chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, all these sort of like conditions where everybody's saying, I'm tired all the time, I can't do anything but just sleep and sleep and sleep and I can't seem to recover. That's a primary adrenal issue. Kidney stones, etc. Every single square inch of your spine controls organic function. And the challenge becomes locating it and discovering the degree of the interference that you have, because you cannot feel this. Now, I'd like to use an analogy. You guys all have one of these in your house. Typically, they're in your garage. Now, the purpose of this is to take the energy that is flowing from Duke Energy here in the Carolinas and distribute it amongst your house evenly to all different parts, correct? It's like a fuse. So would you agree that it's very easy for you to see that this section of this fuse box is out of its normal alignment pattern, yes? So this fuse is doing what? These two. They are not transferring electricity to that part of the house. Now, if it was to your dryer and you went to use the dryer, it would be completely non-functional, yes? Now, let's go the road most traveled. Do you understand the analogy? If it's your heart, if it's your thyroid, if it's your pancreas, if it's your kidney, and they're not working, you should be looking to the core source of their energy. So if I brought in a dryer mechanic, he's going to check the dryer. He'll run all the medical tests on it. He'll hook up his electrodes and his computer, and the test will come back saying what? That there's nothing wrong with the dryer. You guys see the analogy? But you're going to say, but it's not working. Now the electrician will do what though? The mechanic will say, did you check the breaker? And you'll go out into the garage and you'll see it, and then typically for most of us it'll say where it goes, right? You guys know that? Dryer, heater, air conditioning, etc. So they'll go, well, that's easy. What's the fix for this? How do we get the dryer to work? Someone has to go and push this back into its alignment pattern. Oh, I hope you guys see the analogy with this. Someone has to help you detect, identify, and find the alignment issues so they can be pushed back into alignment to reset how your brain communicates with your organs. Do you see now this is different than chiropractic care? A lot of people go to chiropractors and they get and then what do they say afterwards? How do you be careful. Be careful. I know this is going to sound weird, but you cannot feel spinal distortions unless they are greater than 60% distorted and they've been present for years and years and years and years. And then here's the challenge with that. Once the pain clears, so if the alignment issue happened here on your span of life, and there's years between and the pain happens here, and here you are today, you visit a chiropractor, you start getting adjusted, would you agree? All of a sudden the pain goes away, but then what do most people do? They stop the therapy because they say, gee doc, it's great, I feel good, you've helped me, you're amazing, you're a healer, healing worker, etc. And then they'll stop their care, and what usually comes back? It's the same thing as their weight. What comes back? Back. Now, if you work through this space, getting all the way back to full functional alignment, not only do you have no pain, but this is where healing takes place. So look, when you look at a spinal cord, this thing would work. Every single spinal nerve goes to different parts of your body. And it's been mapped out just like the fuse box in your house. And these have been studies done by medical doctors where they've done autopsy studies and said, okay, this person has diabetes, they have neural interference, they have arthritis, decay and degeneration in this part of their spine. This person has a thyroid problem, they have nerve interference and degeneration in this part of their spine. They mapped out every single square inch of it. Kidneys through this region, the spleen, the pancreas, the stomach, the gallbladder, the lungs, the arms, the hands. I'm going to share with you a truth, and I think you guys would agree with it. This nerve here versus this nerve here, which one is the most important for the functionality of your body? Would you rather have a spinal nerve severed here or here? Why would we pick down here? Because from the source, right, at the top, there's hundreds of billions of fibers going down through here. By the time you've transferred everything out, you get to the base, and yes, we might lose the functionality of our lower legs, but we still have thyroid function, we have heart function, we have lung function, etc. The vagus nerve is the master nerve. It's that first cervical nerve, and it controls every avenue of your body. When you look at the spine, by taking an x-ray as an example, we're looking to see that every single bone is stacked one on top of each other. Now, you can't see the nerves directly, but I'll show you, you can see where the nerves come out. So as an example, this person came into my office. They've been under care for quite some time. And do you see how the discs are completely thick and healthy? Can you guys see those? Each bone stacks one on top of each other. And if you would agree with me, this is in solid 100% alignment in that position. This would imply from the base of their hips up to the middle of their back, and we would continue to take more x-rays to go all the way to the top, there's no interference at all within the spinal system. What about these, though, as an example? I'm going to share with you, both of these people had no pain in their back. None. Yet, would you So down through here, the L3, L4, L5 controls your entire digestive response. You see all this stuff over here, all these dots in darkness, especially this. This is all stool and fecal material and things piling up with the intestines. You know what this patient said to me? Well, I go to the bathroom regularly. It's not about how often you go. It's about the state of the internal quality of your health. Now, if we run a urinary sample on this and we find out what's going on there, there's how we can find out the depth of the leak. Is it bacteria? Is it fungal? Is it parasite? And what that helps me to do is then develop a protocol for you to not only get your spine cleared out, but to go deep on the inside and wash the organ tissues. Right? From the side, or another version of testing it is to do something called spinal thermography. This is a sort of newer technique where you can actually look at the heat signatures coming off. It's a device that rolls all the way up your back, and whenever the computer detects an irritation on the nerve tissues, then we can see exactly the pattern. Now, you guys probably don't have it in your brains like I do what each of the levels go to, but 6 and 7 go straight to the thyroid. So I see this scan, and I see thyroid nerve involvement. And if a patient has thyroid problems, then guess what we get to say? This is the core interference behind what's causing your issue. You clear the nerve interferences, and your brain will communicate back. But see, they also have that master vagal nerve. So you have to get x-rays done. From the side, right here, it should be open and lifted roughly about 18 degrees, and there needs to be a curve in the neck so that the brain can send the spinal cord through, and then the nerves exit each of the spaces between. We know the natural angles sit between 35 and 45 degrees. If you have a spine that is straightened, then you're decreasing brain to organ function. And often because the vagus nerve sits at the top, it affects heart, lungs, liver, spleen, pancreas, digestive system, etc. Let me ask you guys questions and just see if you can help to answer these. X-ray on the left. Is that a healthy neck or is it an unhealthy neck? No pain whatsoever within their neck at all. Yet, type 2 diabetic, taking thyroid medications. What about this one? That's going in the opposite direction. Can you guys see? Normally it would curve in a C shape. No pain at all. Autoimmune disease, lupus, chronic fatigue, and fibromyalgia. Yet completely unaware that it's from a neurological source. Now, I met with Jennifer Steele. My radio show is 11:10 a.m. WBT. We're in the exact same building of 107.9 FM. And Jennifer Steele comes up to me in the hallway and says, Dr. Ernst, I've heard your radio show forever. I got to ask you a question. I'm a vegetarian. I can't seem to lose weight. I don't understand what's going on. I just went to my doctor. They're telling me they have no clue. Can you help me to figure out the core issues with my health? We did a spinal nerve exam. We did her microbiome profiling. We did her blood work. I took her through what I'm going to teach you guys today, and I want you to hear from her what she got as a result of applying this different path for health.
nutritionalist, yes, they're knowledgeable. Maybe he's had a few hours of nutrition in his studies, but Dr. Ernst is the best of all worlds. This is a holistic, he'll address every part of your body that needs addressing, and you will thrive as well. So join me in the road less traveled. It's a beautiful journey. Take care. Bye.
So I think she was being, the weight didn't come off too fast. She went from 165 pounds to 143 pounds in about half, maybe 4 months. And again, I'm a vegetarian. I'm eating really, really healthy. I shouldn't be like this. When she talked about some of the tests that we run, I'm going to show them to you guys later. There is a urine sample that will not only type your metabolism, but like she said, it'll tell us exactly the patterns of how you should be eating for your body type. It shows what's going on within your intestines if you have a bacteria, fungus, parasitic, or yeast overgrowth. It also tests your detox pathways to determine if your liver is at full capacity or not. It's one of the most powerful functional tests, something that most medical doctors don't even have access to running because we have to give the test kit to you, and you have to collect the urine at your house at home, and it is sent off to a private lab that is not connected with most insurance companies. And I have just a curious question. Why do you think a test that would show if your gut's leaking, what your nutritional profiles need to be, if your liver's on track again, and if your immune system is strong and healthy, why do you think that would be something that's outside of the medical model? Something not covered by insurance, done through a private lab. Why do you think that is?
Doesn't need medication.
What's that?
Doesn't need medication.
Well, the results of it doesn't need medications, but if you found out what your reason and interference for your lack of healing was, then you would be able to do something about it and heal yourself, as opposed to being stuck in the route of continuously taking medications for things. One of the tests that we use again is this body composition scan. It shows the amount of fat you have by percentage. It shows the volume of your fats. It shows us where it is. And we use this as a measuring tool to see the progression of how you're going through your healing states. We run blood work that shows inflammatory markers. We're looking at thyroid function. We're looking at your immune response. The entire panel will come back almost 9 pages long and give me an exact replica typo of exactly what's going on inside of your body. And we apply the information from your nerve tests to your urine test, to your blood test, and it creates a custom protocol specific for you. This was Barbara Lisa, who came to me with a raging amount of sciatica and also high blood pressure. And I don't know if you guys can see this right here. Her neck is at 25 degrees, should be 35. You see how thin the discs are right through here? So as a comparison to say like this one, which was her x-ray after just a couple months, the neck nerves that go to the heart are controlled right through here. We started applying chiropractic care. Not only did her sciatica go away, but her blood pressure completely resolved. She got off all the medications for cholesterol and blood pressure, and she went from 145 pounds to 115 pounds in a matter of just a couple months. There is something rawly available that most of us are missing when we release neurological stress in our body. Not because of it hurting, but because of the fact that the spine's out of alignment. Tammy, we were talking about this. When I first met with Tammy, I don't think you had ever had an x-ray taken to look at structural function and things to this effect, right? No. So the pancreas is controlled by the nerves that come out of this zone right here. Can you guys see this? Her spine goes up, it goes to the right, and then what does it do? Bends back to the left. That's a type of scoliosis. So this was just a matter of a couple months. We got that section completely straightened out. Much different than classic chiropractic. You're not going to come into our office and lay on the table and have this sort of, anybody ever had that? Right? And then what do they do afterwards usually? They'll say, turn to the other side, yes? Now watch, if I took Tammy's spine and I adjusted it to the left and I adjusted it to the right, where would she ultimately end up after that adjustment? In the exact same place. Now, would the joints pop, release? Would she probably go, oh, that feels so much better because of the motion now in the joints? Yes, but what did it do to her function? No change in function at all. And that's the difference between functional chiropractic care using a structural technique, and also now we've gotten to the point where we can detect the functional change in just one visit. So you come in, you get an x-ray done, we get an evaluation, we see the angulatures, we apply one adjustment, we now getting this level of results within just one adjustment, which shows us how you can stabilize it and keep it and maintain it. Much different than classic chiropractic care. Much different. Layer number 2 to our interferences is the fact that our digestive system is out of alignment and there's a leak that's taking place. And while it's quite popular to talk about a leaky gut, I want to make sure we're very clear on what that actually means. You're not leaking stool back into your cavities because that would be detrimental, fatal. It's at a cellular level. The cells of the gut are supposed to be really tight next to each other so that what's passing through, be that food particles or bacteria or anything, go through here uninterrupted without getting back into your blood. When the gut cells start to become inflamed, either because there's nerve involvement towards the gut or you're eating that one specific food product that destroys the intestines, which we'll review, you start to create an inflammatory process and the gut cells start to spread apart. Now, what we typically see is there will be more bacterial growth within the intestinal pathways, an overgrowth, if you will, and then the bacteria start, and that creates a further inflamed response. It also heightens your immune system, and you start to become autoimmune. You start to attack yourself. So this is where we see things like joint pains and food intolerances and thyroid conditions and diabetes. It's been estimated that a leaky gut is connected to almost that is ignored by medicine today because there is no pill to fix a leaky gut. Now, what happens is when viruses, bacteria, particles leak through the intestines and get into your bloodstream, your body will be aware of the invaders here and it starts to heighten a reaction where you begin to attack things. One way of knowing if your gut's leaking is, has anybody ever had a reaction to a food where either they ate something, they got a headache afterwards, you got a joint that swelled up after you ate this one specific food? How about, have any of you ever been eating food and just out of nowhere, all of a sudden your nose starts to run kind of like a clear, right? That's a gut leak starting to show itself based upon the foods that you're consuming that are creating the gut reaction. Now, when you have inflammation within the intestines, the first thing that gets interfered with is your intestines don't absorb as much of the nutrition that you need for self-healing and repair. It's as if you eat the foods that are good for you, but you can't absorb them. We typically see people say stuff like, I don't understand why my vitamin D level is so low. I take a vitamin D every day. What's happening? It's a gut leak. It's going straight out. You're defecating it through. You're not absorbing it. When we see things like, I eat a really good diet, right? I've been cutting my calories. I've been counting my carbohydrates. I've been keeping my fats in ratio, and I'm not losing weight. It's a gut leak. And the challenge is that gut leaks are generally caused by the one component of grains, which is the glutinous component. They've done studies on this and showed that a gluten molecule, when it touches and lands onto a gut cell, causes the cell to secrete a protein called zonulin, which will land on the cell neighboring and spread it apart. And the purpose is so that the gluten can get inside the cell. That gluten acts like a virus, almost as if it's been genetically programmed to attack the cell tissues inside of your body. And I believe that it actually has. And we'll talk about that in a moment. So one thing we have to do is reduce our glutinous intake if we want the gut to heal. And the second thing we need to do is make sure the nerve connections to your gut are solid and sound, otherwise it won't be able to communicate and repair. Symptoms often when you have a gut leak, and notice how they spread over into everything. It can be constipation, it can be fatigue, it can be joint pain, it can be headaches, it can be depression. You tend to see that we get leaks, or it's little pimples and bumps that show up on or along through the side of the nose, and we'll do everything we can to try to get them to clear out, and they won't. It's because the gut's leaking. It also leads over to thyroid issues, blood sugar problems, high blood pressure. There's even research today suggesting that it's about 98% of chronic illnesses is because of the fact that the gut is leaking. And the gut leaks because there's nerve involvement, there's medications we're taking that's inflaming it, and we're eating grains that are destroying the intestines. Again, remember, one way you can find out if you have on you by poundage, our scale that we use in our office will show you that, and discover if 50% or more of it's within your trunk. So this patient came to my clinic after one of our dinner seminars and said they wanted help with their health and their weight and everything else. Started off at 59.8 pounds of fat on their body. Now, if you only weigh 188 pounds and you're at 59 pounds of fat, you guys see that's into the realms of obesity by percentage. So we know now that if there's 34 pounds of fat in the intestines, that you do a math equation, very simple, and you find out that's 58% here. That is a clinical sign of a raging gut leak. So if we go through techniques and protocols to clear it out, we can start to see the body change. Here he was pushing almost 190 pounds, 1 month later, 1 month later, 1 month later, 1 month later, losing 30 pounds without effort. And what happens? Goes down to 38.6%, 42 pounds on the body. That is a gut that has sealed and repaired itself. How did we do that? We adjust the spine, release the nerve stress. We go through a diet change by removing the grains, bumping healthy fats up, and your body will regenerate by itself. Does that make sense? And we've seen this happen over and over and over again. Now, if you want to get a little more specific, there is a urinary sample that I use called an organics profile. It's a phenomenal test. You pee in this little cup, you collect it at home, you freeze it, you ship it off to the lab, and it'll come back and it'll actually give us the exact bacterial relationships of your intestines. Each of these biomarkers tells us a specific type of bacteria, and if they're elevated, then we know exactly what types of either supplementation, detoxification, or diet you can use to decrease them. Indican is a direct marker that will show us your clinical state of your gut leak. If your gut is over a 64, it's a full clinical leak. And then we can look for things like, is it acidophilus sourced? Is it fungal or yeast sourced? So you see there's very, very important power behind getting the right kind of testing done, because it'll show you exactly what you need to do to correct it. And this is the type of results we typically see again. You know, this is Davis, and what he was talking about is he went from 188 pounds all the way to 150 intestines. My hairdresser, you know how you guys, when you get your hair done, they're always talking about what's going on in your life, what's going on in your life. And I kept finding out from her, she was always saying, you know, I'm tired, I'm fatigued, and my joints ache, etc. And she finally agreed to come in and get the testing done. She went 64 pounds down in just 6 months. And then I've seen it happen over and over again. This is Adrienne. She is the mom of one of my staff members. And sometimes I get this excuse when people come to our seminars. Well, Dr. Ernst, I'd love to come see you, but you know your office is in the north side of Charlotte. I live in the south side of Charlotte. Is anybody here from South Charlotte today? Right? Have you ever had this, right? So it's like, some people will say like it's another planet to go up to the north side of the city. Right? And so, yeah, so for me, it's like, now watch this, ready? She lives in Asheville. How far is Asheville from here? That's a 2-hour drive. Now, I've seen something unique. Those of you who are committed to your health will do anything and everything, will go the distance no matter how far it is. And she was at the point with her medical doctor, them saying that, well, you need to lose weight, but you need to lose weight because we have to do this surgery on your neck. She had something called a thoracic outlet syndrome, where she wasn't getting enough blood flowing through her neck down into her hands. So she was getting cyanotic with her hands. They were going turning cold and blue and everything. And the doctor said, the only way we can fix this is we have to do this surgery. But to do the surgery, you have to lose weight because we're afraid you're going to react to the anesthesia. So you have to lose weight. So her daughter works for me and was like, well, Mom, you got to see what's going on in our clinic. You got to come check it out. Drove all the way from Asheville. Now, here's the unique thing, right? What do you think is causing the lack of blood flow going through her neck to your hand? It's a spinal distortion. So we started adjusting her, and guess what? Cleared out. She lost all the weight as a side effect of that, didn't have to have the surgery, and now goes, my God, this is the most amazing thing I've ever done. I promise you, no matter what's going on in your body, it's either connected to the fact that nerve is interfered, the gut is toxic or leaking, or there's some layer of toxicity that's preventing yourself from healing. Over and over and over again. Now, a leaky gut will primarily start off affecting other aspects and tissues. If you have joint pain that you feel in the morning that is worse and gets better as it goes throughout the day, that's a sign of a gut leak. If you've been diagnosed with a thyroid condition, you're taking medications for it, the core root, what is causing the thyroid to be deficient, is a gut leak. If you have either anxiety or brain fog or sinus issues, or your adrenals are starting to stress out, you're having difficulty with your energy, it's almost always a gut leak. And most of us have never been tested properly to determine if we have it. And then even if we do have it, most people are going off to the internet and buying what? The leaky gut supplement, right? Because they're all over the place right now because it's a vogue topic. Now here's the problem with taking a leaky gut supplement to try to fix your gut. What is it that controls the intestines and regulates its healing state? The nervous system. Now the research is very clear with this, that your brain connects directly to your gut through the vagus nerves and almost every nerve out of your middle back. And what they've now found out is the intestines themselves secrete the neurotransmitters that your brain needs in order for you to feel good and feel well. So if we're depressed, watch this, and their doctor says you don't have enough serotonin or dopamine, you need to take an SSRI or an antidepressant, why don't we have enough? There's either a blockage of the nerve or the gut is inflamed and leaking and it's not producing it. 95% of all serotonin, which by the way is your feel-good, elated, happy hormone, is produced here. 50% of dopamine, which is a reward, pleasure, sort of stability hormone, is produced here. If you have a nerve involvement, you'll have a gut involvement. If the gut is involved and it can't send the signals back up to the vagus nerve, you get the double whammy effect. And what's unique is the vagus nerve is very easy to detect interference with on an x-ray. And you can discover it just simply by taking a film from the side or a film from the front. So I want to do a little quiz and have you guys help me with this. This patient comes in. We do this special x-ray view to look at the vagus nerve because we need to make sure it's very free and clear. And are the spaces even left to right? Yes or yes? Okay. We come across to this patient, and what do we see? Almost an immediate difference through here. Okay, now something. How hard is it to see this? Not hard at all. Now the ultimate question would be, what do we need to do to fix this? Now can you see why if you go to a chiropractor who goes, you're going to end up putting it exactly where it was, and you're going to either never go because you never had pain there in the first place. This patient of mine came in with raging type 2 diabetes and also had an autoimmune condition that was attacking their kidney and had no clue about this happening at all. And what's unique is in the research in medicine, I'll come back to that in a second. The research in medicine is showing that medical doctors are now starting to say, okay, if the vagus nerve is interfered with and we electrically stimulate it, we can make people lose weight. So they're finding out that by doing studies on stimulating the vagus nerve with electrical conductivity, that they can force a signal to go through it. Now, the Mayo Clinic recently has put out that this treatment is now available for people who want to lose weight. You can have a vagal nerve stimulator installed in your neck, have a little bit of electricity put to it, and then you'll lose weight. Yet, how much does it cost to have a vagal nerve stimulator installed? Now, do you guys know they have a wait list longer than anything else right now for people to sign up for this vagal nerve stimulation? Because what will we do? When nothing works, we will try anything and everything. We'll spend all of our hard-earned money on a hope. But watch, if you go back, for example, to this person and you say, okay, the vagus nerve is definitely interfered with. There's the interference. And I'm going to slide an electrical stimulator in here and try to zap that nerve. Do you notice how it's interfered with at the source? It's as if you take something that should be free and clear, it's down to 50%, and you're trying to make that go back up to here without understanding the fact that the compression is causing because of the alignment. You force a nerve electrical conductivity, yes, but what will happen? The nerve will eventually burn out, and when you burn the nerve out, then you lose all function within the body. The easiest way to correct that would be identify its location, get the proper adjustment that will reset that, and you can see massive change take place. This is Sarah. Sarah came to one of my events, and she had a thyroid issue, and she wanted to share with you guys not just the power of clearing out the spine, but sort of an expression of what life is like when you have vagal nerve interference, because Sarah is the one that we had the x-rays of.
Hi, my name's Sarah. I'm excited to share a little of my story with you today because about 6 months ago I was you. I had heard about a seminar my husband found on the internet about thyroid issues and are you struggling and haven't received any help, and that was me. I was diagnosed with thyroid issues about 20 years ago and I started Synthroid, and it was fairly manageable most of my life, but about 3 years ago I hit a wall. I was exhausted all the time. I couldn't get through the day without sleeping. I couldn't think clearly, couldn't communicate, which is very uncharacteristic of me. I was struggling also with some severe anxiety and depression, also very uncharacteristic of me. And I was starting to feel fairly hopeless. I remember going to Walmart one time, and after I did my grocery shopping, I had to sleep for 20 minutes in the car before I was awake enough to drive home. I went to the doctor and said, what is the deal? I can't function. And they upped my medication, an antidepressant, and nothing was helping. So when I heard about the seminar and I came and heard what Dr. Ernst had to say, honestly, I thought, this can't be right. It's too simple. And yet this idea that our body is very complex and there are a lot of systems that have to work together made a lot of sense. He did the most thorough assessment of my health that I've ever received. And after seeing my deficiencies and myself again, and I can't tell you how exciting that was. I'm now through the initial treatment plan, and I'm awake, and I feel wonderful. I been
So watch. Under care from an endocrinologist, medications. If you guys know anything about thyroid, TSH and they'll look at T4. So somebody tell me, is there TSH? They're within the normal ranges. It would say high if there was something afterwards. So she's medicating her condition, making these numbers look good, but yet still falling asleep in her car. So what she's doing is the classic sort of approach that most people take when we go the road most traveled. We'll still feel bad, but we're doing everything the doctor says, and then we just hope and pray that our blood panel will go all the way down into immunities and even aspects that the doctors typically don't test for. This panel alone, just through LabCorp, is about $800 to run, because looking for reverse T3 or antibodies or globulin antibodies is something that there is no medication available to give. Now, if you watch, is a hormone that if that's elevated, it's going to make you be tired and fatigued. It causes your hair to fall out and it gives you lots of anxiety. It makes your hands tremor and shake a little bit, etc. Her reverse T3 is through the roof, and nobody's ever discussed this with her. Antibodies against this enzyme would mean that she is autoimmune attacking the thyroid. That's supposed to be less than 6. She's at 100. So we're looking at like 100 times more attack through antibodies. What would be the source of antibodies against her thyroid? What condition would she have that's creating her body to attack itself? Well, that's the definition of it, but what is the source of the autoimmunity? It comes from a gut leak. Now, why is her autoimmunity going after her thyroid? The vagus nerve is involved. When we did x-rays of her neck, she had almost no curve in her neck, so the nerves to the thyroid are being compressed. If it was a different region, let's say it was the nerves to her heart, then she would have an autoimmunity attack against the heart, which is where we see often plaquing and stenosis and everything else. If it was an involvement at the levels that go to her pancreas, she would have autoimmune diabetes. The source and the root is what the gut does to the body. And when we go through testing and we repair the tissues, we do some anti-inflammation techniques, we get her spine adjusted, we clean out her gut. This was literally in 6 months and went completely back to normal. Something that is not available out there in the medical world, something you have inside of you by addressing your core interferences. And again, we talked about how medically they're trying to stimulate the vagus nerve. Third and final aspect is the idea of our toxicities. What we now know is this: toxins are stored in fat. So the more fat you have, it typically implies there's more toxins in your body. If you go to the gym and you work them down and you don't address the toxicity, by volume, your body is less of weight. You've lost 5 pounds, you've lost 10 pounds. But the reason we'll either plateau out or it rebounds back is because at more toxic level, what does your body have to do to protect itself? It has to put the fat back on you so that the toxins are stored there as opposed to flowing around within your blood and affecting your organ tissues. Now, if you remove the toxins, then you will automatically start to lose weight, and that's how you sustain it and how you keep it off. How you break through a plateau is recognize it's not going to be about diet and exercise. It's going to be about going deep to the inner core and removing the interference behind it. Does that make sense? Now, it's very easy for us to recognize where the most of our toxins come from. What we put into our body will determine the level of toxicity, because there's things like pesticides and herbicides. There's over 80,000 different chemicals found in the traditional diet. And if we were to do an entire seminar on just how to change your diet and sum it down to about a 1-minute sentence, it would just be stop eating crap. Carbonated beverages, refined sugars, anything that's artificial or anything that comes into a box. Because I promise you, all of this stuff is loaded with chemicals, loaded with toxins, pesticides and herbicides, etc. Yeah, it'd be the ones that are like sweetened, yeah, just sparkling water. No. Now, help me with this. What's the core toxicity in this meal right here? Who said that? It's the vegetable oils. Remember we said vegetable oils cause more inflammation than anything else. They cause damage to your cardiovascular tissues. They affect your gut. They affect the cell membranes. Every single aspect of this stuff has vegetable oils inside of it. What's the second highest toxicity behind this? the grains themselves and how they turn into carbohydrates, and more likely the fact that they've been sprayed. And then you have the sugars found inside of basically everything else. So this is kind of a classic sort of meal that some of us get for our lunch or for our dinner and things to that effect. Some of you may have in your pantry these kind of things, right? So boxed food items, packaged food items, this is the kind of stuff that I used to grow up on. And we thought this was what food was. And part of the reason why I got so sick and why I ended up with this autoimmune disease where my body was attacking my lungs and I was having to take corticosteroids and inhaled sprays and stuff like that is because this is what I ate. And only when I realized what real food was did we start to get a drastic change. Does anybody know what this stuff is? The pink meat. Now, do you guys know what it is by definition? It's called pink slime, but what is it? What is it made of? No. It's made of the leftover products, so like the cartilage, the fat tissues that they cut off, some of the bone structures and things like that. So the food industry is starting to basically grind it all together. They use ammonia to clean it, which is why it's pink right now. Then they'll bleach it back, and then they'll add this into the foods that we're consuming today as a substitute to say, well, we know that we have all this leftover. What are we supposed to do with it? So we'll hide it into it. And a lot of times they will grind that into the meats that you guys get. It can be in your chicken. It can be in your turkey. It can be in your meats. So this is why it's extremely important that we watch out where are we buying our food from, who is sourcing it, and is it real food, fake foods. And unfortunately today it's really hard for us to find out if the food is fake or not. Another toxin that we eat on a regular basis are the medications that we take. You guys know I read a study once, I think it was done last year, that said the amount of medications prescribed in the United States per person and the amount consumed daily exceeds that of certain food groups within the United States. Translation, medications are becoming classified as a food group by consumption. We're swallowing them, we're eating them, and by volume we take more of them than any other country on this planet. There are now more people dying from drug overdoses, and even medical doctors starting to say, hey, we are overprescribing people in the United States, and the medications themselves are extremely toxic. You guys all know they have a side effect, and then the side effect is often treated by another drug, which increases our toxicity, etc. There's also been some evidence that when we look at toxins, they tend to hang around. What we find is the toxicity creates the leak creates the inflammation, the irritation, the autoimmunity. The body in its wisdom says, pack all the fat through here. But most of us think it's because we're getting older or because of hormone changes or things like that. Well, there's some truth to that because of the fact that beer is wheat-based, but it's the fact that it's a toxin found in it. Now, do you guys know by chance the number one toxin that is sprayed onto all grain products in the United States today? Is everybody aware of this? Okay, so Monsanto produces a product called glyphosate, Roundup, and the amount of Roundup that has been used in the United States has been climbing and climbing and climbing. Now, there was a study, because there was this big lawsuit not that long ago, right? Do you guys remember this? The gentleman who got a type of lymphoma, and he claimed that it was caused because of this. So they've been studying this to try to find out, does it cause cancer directly? And they found out that it actually doesn't just cause cancer, it causes almost everything. So this is from the study itself, and what I'm going to show you is the amount of issues. So like say hypertension. You guys tell me, just with you looking at it, what is the trend that we're seeing here? As we use more glyphosate, as we use more genetically modified foods, what's been happening? And is that kind of a one-to-one correlation? What about strokes? So the number of strokes in the United States, the amount of genetically modified foods that have been consumed, and the amount of Roundup that's been applied to it. What's happening? Okay, what about heart attacks? The number of heart attacks in the United States, the number of Roundups, poundage is being applied, and the number of genetically modified corn, soy, and wheats that we're using. What's happening? One-to-one correlation. So what they're now, this is me, are we engineering diseases by tricking people into eating grains, saying it's the core source foundation of your food? If you eat a bread products, even the organic ones have been tainted, unfortunately. You're consuming this glyphosate product into your body. Look at liver cancer going almost one-to-one. This is fascinating to me. Guys, this is a 100% correlation. Autism's climbing like crazy today. The amount of just simply the amount of Roundup. Look at this, the number of people that go to hospitals in the United States going up. The number of dementias, up. Diabetes, up. Celiacs, up. It's an evident toxin that most of us are consuming thinking that it's healthy. This is things like pastas and bagels and grains, you will even find some degree the corn and the corn products that are in our foods today. Do you guys know that almost every major boxed food item has some level of corn or soy inside of it? Yes?
If we were able to grow our own corn in some sufficient quantity to actually eat it, does that totally eliminate glyphosate?
I guess it depends on it. It would.
In the seeds, I've heard that
It can be in the seeds if they're genetically modified.
it's modified
Yeah.
to do something.
The challenge, though, today is just out of show of hands. How many of you have the capacity to set up your own farm and be able to grow your own foods right now? This is the challenge, right? So it's become an industrialized food program in the United States, and those of us who are farming aren't farming for ourselves. We're farming to produce the corn and soy and the wheat and the rice and the oats and stuff like we eat in the United States. So there is a method of you actually testing to determine how much of the glyphosate you guys have in your body. And this is something that we can do for you if you choose. I've run these tests on multiple people, and they've always come out high. There is a test in our urinary profile that'll tell us if you have too much pesticides and herbicides. But it's a simple test that you can just pee into a vial, and it'll turn a specific color. And again, I used to run this on all of our new patients coming into the office. We stopped doing it because we realized every single patient would come back in that blood red level, which means a tremendous amount of this toxicity in your body. Glyphosate physically disrupts the cell membranes of every square inch of your body. It decreases neurological capacity, and it shuts off the ability for you to produce something called ATP, which is your energy. It's a toxin that you have to eliminate. You have to pull it out, and you have to stop yourself from it. On the urinary panel that we run, it'll do a full detoxification profile for your liver. Here's the marker that looks for the amount of glyphosate, pesticides, and herbicides. It's a patient that came to one of my seminars. You guys tell me, it's supposed to be 0.0, maybe up to 8. And how much do they have? A tremendous amount. These markers tell us if the liver is struggling to become in a healthy state. Is it having difficulty with detoxification? An extreme scream. Methylation is one of the most important aspects of how you tag things for toxic elimination. If you can't methylate, you're going to constantly reabsorb toxins, and we're going to wonder why we can't heal from things. This is one of the most beautiful tests ever because it shows directly what you need to do to repair yourself. When we run blood work, we're looking at things like glucose and hemoglobin A1C, creatinine, which tells us your kidney functionality. We're looking at cardiac reactivity, which shows the amount of inflammation within is the root of disease. That's the inflammatory score. We're looking at things like your thyroid. We're looking at the antibody responses. We're looking at your vitamin D and your pH. These panels that I run are to look for core root interferences, so they help us to discover exactly what you need to do for your own self-correction. It'll be either a dietary recommendation, it'll be a detoxification program, it'll be some level of chiropractic or neurological reprogramming. You do all three of those, and I promise you, health comes back. And guys, it comes back super fast. Sometimes in as little as 90 days. I mean, you had that entire A1C drop take place in just basically 3 months. Right. And had you ever like the test we had done before? No. So this microbiome profiling, these kind of tests. The challenge is they're not because there's no way to medicate them. They'll be covered by your insurance, so even if you could ask them to do it, you'd have to pay the full fees for them. And so unfortunately, they can be kind of expensive. So one thing I want to do is end today with one last testimonial. And then if you guys are okay with this, I'd like to give you all a gift for coming here today. Okay? I'm going to precurse this gift. Each of you have, those of you who have folders and things like that, have that little half sheet that I'm sure you guys have already looked at. And when I came into this room this morning, a few of you look at this, and it was kind of like, here's the thing I saw on your face, right? Did anybody do this? I'm not going to say who I saw, but I saw you guys do this. But can I just be transparent with you? Okay? These prices that you see are the insurance-based retail costs of these tests. Even though they don't cover it, they're still going to tell us how much the test costs. This ultimate experience that I'm going to share with you in a moment is a full suite of neurological x-rays, a full corrective process, one adjustment to see how you react to the entire urinary microbiome profile, the entire blood profile, and that's the retail cost for it, $2,450. Certainly worth it, but yet if I asked any of you here today, okay, who's ready to do $2,450 so we can find out how you guys can heal? I understand that, right? So one thing I'm going to do is I would like to give you a gift, which is the raw cost that these labs cost when we order them. As a physician, I get discounts when I order tests. So I have the capacity to save somewhere in the neighborhood of about $1,500 for you guys on testing. The different levels I'll explain in a moment are if you are looking for an answer for your health and you want to start with the basics, which is a spinal x-ray, a thermography, doing the glyphosate testing to see how much of the pesticides in your body, and then having 3 separate visits for us to discover where your health needs to go, how you respond to an adjustment, the scan of the body to determine if your gut's leaking. That's all bundled into our basic exam. The premium exam is to add a layer of testing, including our blood work, and the ultimate exam is to do everything. Do the blood work, do the urine work, do the chiropractic exam, look at your neurological tissues and functionalities. I'm going to play this testimonial, and then I'm going to share with you how I'm going to do 2 things. Give you the test at cost, and then I'd like to do a pay-it-forward concept. God has talked to me multiple times about the idea that he blesses our clinic multiple avenues. Blessed my life, blessed our clinic. We've seen tremendous changes. And I know that as a blessing, ourselves being blessed, we are supposed to pay that back, to be a blessing back. My blessing to you guys is whatever level of exam you pick, we will do them at cost, so there's no profit at all. And when we find out what's going on with your health and we develop a custom treatment program, I will literally give you back the investment that you made as a credit towards future cost of your care. So what I'm asking to do is, would you be willing to let me buy your tests for you? You buy them up front to cover the cost of us running them. We go through a 3-day experience, which I'll explain in a moment. We do our testing, we do our examinations, we do our therapy, we get a re-examine, we sit down and we develop a custom treatment program specific for you, and then you have an automatic credit applied to reduce the cost of that treatment by the level of the testing that you guys did. Does that make sense? So let's watch this testimonial video, and then I'll explain to you that process.
This is my wife Karen. Dr. Ernst for about 4 months now. From my perspective, in the beginning, I heard from head to toe daily. I'd been in my regular family physician and was on high blood pressure medication and borderline diabetic, and all they wanted to do basically was give me medications. I knew there had to be a better way.
Lots of Advil and Motrin, and no reason as to why we were experiencing joint pain and aches and pains all over the place, just medications. So we decided to take the road less traveled instead of going the conventional way of medicating and try Dr. Ernst's program. And here we are 4 months later, and we are essentially pain-free. We have lost a total of 55 or 60 pounds, and the interim as well.
Absolutely. Feel better, have better energy, more energy than I've had in 20 years.
Yes. We're both very skeptical, me more so than Keith. Dr. Ernst's program has really turned that around for me, because we always felt like the proof would be in how we would feel later. And there's so many programs out there that make all these promises, and Dr. Ernst had things to say that informed us, and they were things that we'd never heard before. So we would highly recommend the program to anybody considering it. Just keep an open mind.
It's definitely worth going down the road less traveled.
So we're here at this point, and I'm going to ask you guys to make a decision, especially those of you who are looking for a change in your health, which is, do you want to keep doing the same things you've been doing? Do you want to keep going down the same path, either taking a medication or following advice, from the internet? Or do you want to go down a path towards self-healing and self-repair, which is the road that is less traveled, but the road that makes all the difference within your life? The way that I have structured this for you is this. It is a functional microbiome metabolic profile. It's a urinary sample that measures every aspect of your gut, from bacteria, fungus, yeast, to parasites. It looks at your entire detoxification process, neurotransmitters within the brain and gives us your breakdowns of vitamins, minerals, and nutrients so we can develop a custom protocol diet specific to your needs so we can fill you with what you need. It looks for the cellular inflammatory markers on our blood exam, and we look at global toxicities, including things like pesticides and some of the toxins that are flowing through our blood that affect our hormone responses. We also do the functional blood panel looking at fasting sugars, the thyroid functionality, ferritin, which is a toxin, enzymes, vitamins, minerals, and nutrients, and we include spinal nerve up, not just of the vagus nerve, but of the entire spine so we can determine is there any interference at any region affecting organ function. When we look at each individual avenue, the exam and to do the scale test to show us how much fat you have in your abdomen and to do that urinary profile where we pee into the little bottle to see does it turn pink. To go to the next layer, we would add blood work to this. That's going to push it up to a retail of about $14.50. To add the exam itself costs about $1,000 retail. You'd be looking at $2,450 if you were to say, will this go through my insurance or can I just book an appointment at any point in the future? By being here today, what I'm doing is I'm cutting them down to the raw costs that we have to be able to provide this to you. So in essence, a basic exam is $497. The ultimate exam is $897. The premium exam is $697. And I'm going to be honest, the reason we say this is our best value is it's only a little bit more than these two, but you get the entire process. The functional exam of the intestines, your functional blood work, your full neurological assessment, and then for each of them, we break them down into 3 unique visits to my clinic, which, by the way, is within walking distance of this hotel. It is just immediately behind that shopping center in the corner. On your first visit, when you come in, you'll be given your in-office test exams. We have here today the urinary microbiome profile because you need to do this as quickly as you can. It takes about 2 weeks for the results to come back. So you can leave here today with your urinary test. We schedule your appointment. You come into the office. We do the full workup, and you'll get your blood exam so you can be able to go to LabCorp and actually do it. The tests are prepaid, covered. All you have to do is simply collect them, ship them out, and go to the lab. When the results come back, I directly, view all of the results to discuss what our treatment options look like, and there will be no cost for either whatever chiropractic physical therapy that needs to be done, whatever initial layer of detoxification we recommend, or whatever sort of initial dietary and let's see how you react. Once we repeat our in-office exam, third visit is between 45 minutes to an hour to say, here is your exact protocol. We have this for your diet, we have this for your detoxification, we have this for whatever structural care you need, and then the gift that I give again is, at this point, we're going to find out how we can maximize your benefits. Sometimes your insurance can actually help you with the therapies, but what we would do is discover exactly how to its fullest capacity and then give you back the investment that you made for your today. Does that make sense? All I'm going to ask is that if you're ready, let me please pay it forward to you, and all you need to do is fill out this document that I think each of you have by simply a few things. Number 1, check off which of the experiences you would like to have. Number 2, slash through the price and write the price that we showed you a moment ago, which I'll put the slide back up. We just need your basic information, and then circle over here in this section what time of the day and what day of the week would be the best for you for your initial in-office appointment. You'll take this form to my staff in the back. They have my schedule here. They have everything that you guys need, and you'll be able to leave today with the tests and everything that's necessary for you to start this journey toward your health. Does that make sense? Awfully quiet.
Does insurance cover any of the testing?
So the testing itself is not covered by the insurance companies. If it was, first of all, we would have to file it through your insurance, and the typical sort of insurance fees sit at the retail rates, which would mean we'd have to send a claim to them at either of these points. They're not going to cover it, so then what happens is you'd have to pay it either through your deductible as an upfront cost. So what I'm trying to do is to say,
I've reached my deductible.
well, it's not a covered service though, so they're going to still say they're going to say that that's not an applicable test. So what I'm trying to do is say this: if you would like to get these testing done, I can give them to you at the cost that we have to order them for you, and then you also get all 3 visits in the clinic at no additional fee on top of that. Once we discover what you need to do for your therapies, you'll get a reimbursement towards the future cost of your care by whatever any of those are. Does that make sense? Any questions? Yes, sir.
Cataract surgery.
Okay.
I have one next week.
So what's the question about it?
Well, can cataract be reversed through this?
Cataracts are an oxidation of the sort of, the cornea level of the eye. It would mean that it's been going on for some tremendous amount of time.
Well,
It,
it's
it,
a side effect because I had a cornea transplant.
so it's a slightly different story on that case then. But you can potentially reverse, inflammation, irritation within the eye, which would prevent, the cataract from getting worse. And over time, it should be able to heal. But if it's at a scarred state currently, we'd have to, let you go through that procedure right now.
I see a white curtain with this eye.
Got it. Yes.
So should I continue with it?
Well, let's talk afterwards. It's a little more specific.
On the third visit,
Yes.
the charges for the additional treatments and all.
So when we talk about what would your treatment plan look like?
Yes.
Yes?
Would possibly any of those be covered by
So
Medicare or insurance?
So this is where we don't know yet because I don't know what kind of insurance you guys have. Therapies may be able to be reimbursed through your insurance company. But in order for us to find out what it is, we have to do the initial exam, figure out what's going on. We have to see how you react. We have to determine and come up with a treatment program. Regardless of what your insurance says, I'm going to help you to decrease the cost to the maximum potential. And then any levels of the testing that you do will give you as a credit towards the cost of your care. So even if your insurance company says we can give you X dollar amount, we would reduce that off the cost of the care, give you your credit back, and it just lowers your out-of-pocket cost even further than that. My job being I want to help you guys financially to minimize it to the fullest capacity and yet also give you that pay-it-forward concept from you doing the test with us. Yes?
With this new flu that's coming around, just getting our body back into a normal rhythm is
Correct.
going to keep us.
So first of all, the flu that's going around is something that, yes, if your body's immune system's at full capacity, you would be able to fight that off as if it's no different than anything else. Viruses don't make us sick. It's the inability for our body to fight the virus that makes us sick. So if we have a weakened immune response, when that flu virus comes across, we're going to be more susceptible to it. I have no fear that myself or my family is going to be attacked, nor would I you because of what you've been doing, or Tammy because of what she's been doing. But, my heart kind of goes out to those of you who haven't been tested or haven't been doing any levels of immune boosting, etc. It means that your immune systems could potentially become attacked by that. But the best way to protect yourself from that and from other diseases and inflammation, irritation, weight loss, etc. would be remove the interferences like you're doing right now with us. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes. So I see a few have already gone back to the back. So if you are looking to do this exam, I would, again, recommend fill out the form. Let us know which level of testing you want, and then you can go straight back. Guys, I'm going to tell our Facebook Live feed that we are signing off. Thank you guys for tuning in today. And I hope you guys, A, have a great time, and B, I can stay here for about maybe 5 or 10 minutes before I have to leave for my radio show. But if you have a specific question of something you want to ask me, please come up and let's chat about it. So thank you so much for being here today. I hope you guys found it to be informative and guiding towards the next in your health and your life. I appreciate your time today.